You're watching TVC Breakfast. Let's head to Ekiti State now. In just about 3 days, everyone will be going into the ballot or to the polls to select the governor for the next 4 years. But we have our correspondent in there, our senior political correspondent, Ayodele Zumwako, standing by there to bring us up to speed with developments there. Ayodele, it's good to have you join us right now. We know that on a day like this, in a build-up to the election, the atmosphere will be charged up. Bring us up to speed with what we need to know, in the build-up to the election in Ekiti State.
Yes, Mike, the normal campaign, period from today, tomorrow, is going to end by 12 midnight tomorrow. That's when all campaigns are expected to stop. Political parties are wrapping up their campaigns. 16 political parties will be taking part in this exercise. And Ekiti, a small state with 16 local governments and with close to 1 million registered voters and people with PVC. The only different thing now is that wherever we've been covering the election before, this off-season election, a day like this, we're expected to go to the Central Bank of Nigeria to go and see INEC dropping their materials. The sensitive materials will be expected to arrive at the Central Bank of Nigeria, but INEC is saying no this time around, that they are not keeping the sensitive materials with the Central Bank of Nigeria. It's going to be coming directly to the state office of the Independent National Electoral Commission here in Ekiti. So stakeholders are expected to converge together this morning to see and witness how the sensitive materials will be coming. So I'm not doing this alone. You want to help us make sense of this new development that INEC is not using the CBN as they normally do for all the elections.
Well, you have to background it from the very the intervention that we saw during the primaries, where the CBN governor was dilly-dallying as to whether he wants to
he went to court,
throw his heart into the ring and all of that. That brought a reputational challenge for the CBN in terms of its ability to be neutral, and safeguard those sensitive materials and not tilt it in favor of any political party. So if you remember, we raised a lot of issues around the continued domiciling of sensitive materials in CBN. Not necessarily because CBN in the past has not done good job. But if, for instance, the election goes whichever way, election is a party. You went and kept our material in a party office instead of so that
you're a registered member of
political party, and so that perception has been erased. INEC responded to us in the sense in which they now are finding ingenious way of doing this. But at the end of the day, we still will have to find very, very secured way, because there are still questions about how secured this sensitive
can they actually carry out this responsibility by safeguarding these sensitive materials, especially if we are having a general election like 2023.
So what was the rationale in the first instance to domicile it in the CBN? Is because it's secured and it's not going to be available for interference, internal subterfuge that we normally see. So I think INEC is done well for perception purposes, and is important for electoral integrity, that at the end of the day, different stakeholders can feel a sense that that there's a level playing ground, and that this is not tilted in favor of anybody.
We had a stakeholders meeting yesterday. Can you keep us up to speed what actually transpired? The Inspector General of Police was there, the INEC chairman was there.
Well, I think generally is to talk about, to brief stakeholders about the level of preparedness of INEC. Of course, the INEC chairman talked about the number of PVCs that have been collected, and how they would also ensure that more people are able to collect their PVCs until it's difficult to do so. And of course, the police will give a rundown about the number of deployments and all of those issues. But basically, it's to all prepared stakeholders that, look, Saturday, the 16th of June, is a reality, and that different stakeholders are prepared. And if you remember, INEC came here some 3 weeks back to do a run on the BVAS in 12 locations.
Yes, I wanted to say the BVAS is, the off-season election they've been having and the by-election we've been having, there's been always this hiccups with the BVAS. What efforts, Madam?
Well, the first thing INEC did is to test run in 12 locations. But for me, that is insignificant in terms of over 2,000, polling units that you're going to be having in the state. But it's important that there's a show to always inspire confidence in the voters that they are working very hard. But the whole business of oversighting elections is why we're here. The media, the civil society, and other stakeholders must put an eye to make sure that we don't see a replay of the kind of things we saw in Anambra. Yeah. We don't see a replay of the FCT elections, and hoping that if during some of the engagements with INEC, the ICT department is assuring that troubleshoots at any point in time. Yeah. And we hope that the challenge may not necessarily be whether people are trained. We are hoping that INEC, unscrupulous INEC officials, do not change those who have been trained. Substitute those who have been trained for untrained people who would then cause problem on election day. And so it's important because what has happened is that, we've scaled up training because that's the response of INEC. We scaled up training, and then the RATEX, that's the guys who do the troubleshooting, have been trained and all that. But what we saw in FCT and Anambra was not so much that those machines were malfunctioning, but it was that it could not be. Many of the folks who were operating them didn't know what to do.
Now, do you have a kind of updates on what happened in the FCT election and as regard electronic transmission of results from the polling units?
There was a lot of delay. In the FCT, you didn't have the results real time. In most of the places, and that caused a lot of anxiety and challenge. But like I said, there has been several engagements with INEC. The chairman came here. The chairman himself came to Ekiti before now, and came back again for this stakeholders meeting. All is about reassuring citizens, but there's a long distance between expectations and outcomes, and those are the things that we have to be pinning ourselves on, because we are testing out the Electoral Act 2022 as amended in Ekiti.
This is the first time out.
Yes, and we are hoping to also use it to foreshadow, the 2023 elections. But the graph of INEC has always been up and down. It will do well in some places, and then it just crashes all the expectations. But the outlook for Ekiti needs to be positive. We need to look at it from the more positive. It's 16 local governments. It's not as there are not too many. There are no.
It is a very small.
That's what I'm saying. 16 local governments. Not many. You don't have riverine.
Yes,
you don't have places, unreachable places, and all of those issues like you have in Anambra and the insecurity and all that. And then politically too, the outlook is better than 2018. By this time in 2018, you could feel a lot of tension. But as you know, going out since yesterday, there's been issues, skirmishes here and there, but it's not been as vociferous as what we saw in 2018. So I've been telling the Ekiti people that it's important that they maintain this, that they maintain peace, that they also continue to invest in the Omoluabi tag that is associated with the Ekiti people. And then they can also stay away from the Boko Sebe thing that they introduced into the political lexicon in 2018. They brought that in 2018, that they can begin to wash off that black tar that they injected into our political culture, and see how we can move away from transactional engagements that we have seen in the last in 2018 and thereabouts.
Now, in terms of political parties now, from 1999 till now, it used to be, between just two parties. Right now, we are getting the vibe of even smaller parties, so-called smaller parties. Even the Social Democratic Party now, if I can mention it, the Social Democratic Party now is showing up strong, across all the local government. The former governor of the state is actually running under that political party. And I've seen parties like ADP doing door-to-door. I've seen one lady, I think you have 2 women in this race.
The ADP woman.
And they changed the campaign tactics. That is not the normal rally. Now they changed it to door-to-door. And quite effective when you look at to cut costs and everything.
Well, they may cut costs, but we have to interrogate what that door-to-door means. Is door-to-door a veil for pecuniary engagements with the voters? Or is it an opportunity to sell the... As
Yaga Africa discovered earlier.
So the pre-election observation report of Yaga Africa, and not just Yaga Africa, the media in Ekiti are already rife with the fact that this door-to-door needs to be interrogated so that we can unpack what it's truly about. There has not been a lot of engagement even with the media in terms of adverts, and all of those issues. And the media in Ekiti has been shouting that, hey, what this election, we are not getting patronage, we are not seeing people, we are not seeing, adverts in the way we used to see. So what does it mean? Are people keeping their money for E-Day?
Or just devise a new strategy to reach out
to. But whatever it is, at the end of the day, it boils down to ensuring that the Ekiti people understand that there is a relationship between how you vote and the development governance outcomes that you get eventually. And that, for me, is the huge challenge of the Ekiti election. We have seen a spiraling of the monetization of primaries, and how that has become a booster for people saying, hey, if people who went to Abuja got this, in quotes, amount of money, why are you telling us?
Ezewagu is a member of Yaga Africa, is a board member of Yaga Africa, and a partner of Chapman Partners for Electoral Reforms. And we've been looking at development 72 hours, and when you look at, in terms of voting strengths, in 2018, the elections that we've been having before this particular one, in terms of voter turnout, voter education, the awareness and everything, what have you? Now, will you say the last election you were impressed with the turnout? And do you have confidence that this turnout will be better than the one we had 4 years ago?
Well, a lot of work has been done to call out, even up to yesterday, Yaga Africa team were still doing outreach within Ekiti State to call out the people to vote. But a lot more has been done. More polling units have been added to the existing polling units in 2018. Okay, and the reason for that is that there are many polling units. You had maybe 1,000 people and all that. So you have additional polling units to ease voting and the rest of them. So quite a lot of that has been done. And in terms of voter education, the INEC and the National Orientation Agency can be praised for, the work, and civil society have engaged the Ekiti people to come out. But the context of 2018 is now there are the incumbent then had bigger stake. He wanted to ensure that his
successor,
his deputy then becomes the governor. So he was frontal in the engagement and the mobilization. Unlike now, where you have an incumbent who is doing more of statesmanly role now, trying to galvanize for peace and everyone. So the tension is not as high as you. And then the introduction of the third force, if you want to use so it's going to be unlike the 2-horse race that you saw in 2018. You are going to see a 3-man engagement. The SDP, the APC, and the PDP are strong in terms of engagement. And that will lead to more participation, because the introduction of this other, will bring out more voters. And so that scenario is also, and then there is a lot of engagement that the parties have done in terms of, there has been debates, there has been town hall meetings, and the candidates have been out there in the face of the Ekiti people, asking them to come out to vote. So we are likely going to see better outcome. So, and that is why I said as a prospective voter now, can I confidently, because the saying out there now is that, look, votes don't count in Nigeria. Oh no, they would have. I think we have done. There's always a predetermined outcome that the powers that be, the ruling party, the incumbent factor. From what you've seen so far now, we've gone past those things. The votes don't count is a lazy approach to political engagement. If the votes don't count, why did you do Dibokosebe? The Dibokosebe is evident that your votes count. That's why they have to give you money before to devalue your person. and because the same people, when votes didn't count, they didn't need to come to you. They didn't need, what is your importance? They simply sort it out at the level where they sorted it out before. Okay? So votes have started counting. There are incremental... So you can really tell me that the umpire cannot, what the Independent National Electoral Commission has put in place cannot be tampered with. I said there are incremental progress. You are dealing with a sociological situation, so you can't give a 100% guarantee. You could still have unscrupulous elements within the security agencies, within INEC itself, who want to subvert the process. But there are already deeper, stronger mechanisms that have been put. The BVAS, for instance, has capacity now to take away identity theft, okay, voter identity theft. So now it is not just your fingerprint, it is your facials also will have to come to play. So the whole results, transmission of results from the polling unit has also cut off that weak link, which is the collation. So now, gone were those days that you get your form EC8A, alter it before you get to the ward level or local government level. So from the polling unit to the ward, that movement is where the issue is. So, but now there's a dualization of the integrity check. So as the manual is going, the electronic is going. So you can then... you still have the form EC8A. Yes, because you must do that. There is no way you are not going to enter. But the challenge is that when it was just... correspond with what you have online. And now the new electoral law has also emphasized the need for transmission. So since it has recognized transmission, if you don't transmit, it invariably means that you have created a challenge. So all of these things that have been put into the electoral process is a firewall, is a firewall of protection against... So the paperwork is not enough now. You must transmit that result. That's what I'm saying. From the polling units. That's why it's called bio. It's called bio. Bio means two. So the two are going pari passu. And so there is a check now. The integrity check is more stronger, unlike when it's just a paper trail. So from the polling unit, but more importantly, is that the political parties who are involved in election must ensure that the people, they have party agents and not traders. Because if you have party agents, the role of the party agent is to protect the interest of his principal in that polling unit. So if they sell it out, no matter what you do, there is no guarantee for you. So there are some political parties that don't have the wherewithal or the financial muscle to have agents in all the polling units. We cannot explain for you why you don't have the wherewithal. If you are a political party and you want to run for governorship election, it means that you either through membership dues or donations can run this process. Otherwise, you are free to run for only House of Assembly or House of Rep or local government election. So there's nothing that says you must run for governorship. So once you come out for governorship, that's why we say there are no small parties and there are no big parties. Once you come on the ballot, it is equal opportunity.
Let's talk about 2023 now. The capacity of this umpire. 4 years ago.
Why are you always interested in the umpire? There are other stakeholders that we have over-respected. We are over-respecting the political parties. Look at their leadership recruitment process. Who oversights it? Okay? Look at who benefits from voter education. Why are we not impressing on the political parties and their politicians, the candidates, to do the needful, to safeguard our election? We have oversighted INEC to the point where we are seeing incremental progress in the activities. We are not doing the same for the politicians and their political parties. And then the security agents, because at the end of the day, they have a responsibility to maintain law and order. If on election day, by 7 a.m., the police and the security agents are still doing parade, when they should be escorting materials to the different polling units, you cause punctuality challenge.
Or so if they are aiding and abetting
vote buying. So many times there is too much interest in INEC, and the real danger for electoral integrity is domiciled within the political parties and other stakeholders who play a role and nobody is oversighting them. So we are happy that the police have set up a desk for electoral offenses, and I think they are going to be testing that out. We want ICPC and EFCC not just to go to Eagle Square. They should also be in Ekiti, and not just to participate, but to ensure that offenders are apprehended and sanctioned. So if we throw this wide, oversight this thing into the different stakeholders in there, we are going to get the results. So many times, can the umpire, the law has empowered the umpire to do the needful. It has introduced BVAS. It used to be card reader. We knew the card reader was not able to take care of identity theft. They have moved up. They have moved up to BVAS. They have moved up to direct transmission of results from polling unit to, So other stakeholders have responsibility to encourage INEC to make sure that we deliver on credible, fair, free, inclusive elections.
Where are we with the militarization of the process? Have we gone past that one?
I don't know about militarization, because when is it enough? When is it not enough? That is the challenge. Okay, so the architecture of security in elections is very clear. The soldiers stay on the outer layer. Okay,
outer layer. The entrance to the states,
yes, and then
exits.
Yes, and then patrol sometimes within the. So when people talk about militarization, we also want to engage what is their interest. What are they really? If you have nothing to fear, why are you afraid of militarization? Sometimes the so-called militarization can give confidence that, the place is secured, so I can vote without molestation. So let's understand that architecture. And then we need to have mobile or armed policemen 300 meters away from the polling unit. The ones who are in the polling unit are not supposed to be armed. But what we need to do now is to make sure that there is an identity for those who will be coming for
extra identity
that all of us will know.
Apart from the uniform.
Apart from the uniform, so that you don't camouflage. People who are not on duty in Ekiti can be brought in to subvert the process. We need to be able to know if you are a soldier working in Ekiti, how can we, as observers, from other states, as media,
that are not on electoral duty.
Yes. How can we understand that you are the authentic person who is supposed to work here? The media, as we are oversighting the election, can we just see you and know that you are particularly working for Ekiti? Those are some of the things. So it's not just enough to say, militarization. We need adequate security, because those who want to cause trouble will also take advantage
to us.
And once you don't provide adequate security, the same people will say it was deliberate, so that the people can, cause trouble. So basically, that's the challenge that this election faces.
Vintage Ezewagu, I want to thank you. Ezewagu is from Yaga Africa, is a board member there and partners for electoral reform.
Ayo, you've been in Ekiti for, a while now, depending on where you look at it. So let's have it now. On a general sense of it, what is the level of preparedness both from the side of the electorate, the parties, INEC, and other stakeholders? What's the level of preparedness for the election on Saturday?
You know, I told you earlier that strategy is quite changed on behalf of political parties. So what they've adopted right now is that door-to-door approach. Yes, we had a final rally from the All Progressive Congress yesterday, and it's likely that the People's Democratic Party will be having their own final rally today. But beyond these big rallies, they've adopted that strategy of going from door to door, 16 local governments and all the polling units, and they have this kind of, they have their structures in place across the states, and they devised a means to reach out to the people directly. How effective that is going to be will be determined by the number of people that actually come out to vote on Saturday. You have less than 1 million registered voters in Ekiti State across the 16 local government, and 16 aspirants will actually be slugging it off. Out of those 16 aspirants, we have 2 female aspirants here and 14 male aspirants. And as we pointed out earlier, it used to be a 2-horse race between the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress. And it's also instructive to tell you that there has never been a time that you have a political party that have won this election in Ekiti State since the creation of this state, back to back. When I say back to back, when John Kayode Fayemi was there was Niyi Adebayo in 1999 to 2003. There was Ayodele Fayose. Niyi Adebayo did not make it for a second time. Ayodele Fayose came from 2003 to 2007. He could not even do the second time because he was impeached along the line and everything. He staged a comeback. John Kayode Fayemi along the line too, and actually Segun actually did 3 years, and Kayode Fayemi actually was the governor, and he spent his first term, and after he went to Abuja, he couldn't make his re-election. So it was after when Fayose came back to complete his second term that John Kayode Fayemi was able to stage a second time. So what we are looking at here is that the sophistication, the sophistry in the part of voters here, they know what they are doing. They don't go for political parties, they go for individuals, and they are very, very, in terms of awareness, they are very, very smart in terms of voter awareness in Ekiti State. So I can tell you that, look, it's going to be a very keen election, and that keen election is actually going to be a 3-horse race, not the normal APC, PDP we have. We have SDP in the field, and SDP is really looking strong in Ekiti State.
Ayo, it looks like from what you have said also that what you are seeing here is a shadow war between 2 people, and then there's a third person who is coming up front. What I mean shadow war is that you have Kayode Fayemi's man who is running, you have Fayose's man who is running. Then the third of the tripod is Segun Oni. And then you discover that other than Segun Oni, the Bisi Kolawole and Oyebanji are actually
ADP
friends. They look like friends. They are in a sense carrying the baggage of their masters, but they on their own they are actually not supposed to be fighting each other. But Bisi Kolawole, for instance, was a campaign manager for Segun Oni at one time. So it's interesting how all of this go. How is the electorate going to winnow the chaff from the wheat, or the wheat from the chaff, as they say? Ezewagu
said something earlier. He said the turnout might be quite impressive because of this factor that you've actually identified. Now we have people that, they are from Segun Oni. He is originally from the People's Democratic Party, and he ran for the primaries under People's Democratic Party, and he had to take his structure out because he couldn't win that primary. Bisi Kolawole, the Fayose's man, actually emerged as the winner of that primary election. So Segun Oni took his structure to the Social Democratic Party. That's the situation we have here. But before, if you look at before pre-1999, it was one house. We just had APC and the People's Democratic Party. Whatever you have in other smaller political parties now, there are people that are aggrieved from the outcome of the primaries of the primary election from the PDP and from the APC. So it's going to be a kind of interesting contest. And Segun, I can tell you, a former governor, he spent 3 years, and he was eased out of that office by Kaide Fayemi. Has been staging a comeback, and he has been looking forward to go back to that position. He was in the All Progressive Congress at a point in time. He moved to the People's Democratic Party, and he wasn't satisfied with the process in the People's Democratic Party, and he is in Social Democratic Party now. A lot of people, he has his followers, he has his people that come rain, come sunshine, it's going to be Shegoni. And the All Progressive Congress, they have their legacy here. A lot of people that are saying that, that to sustain the legacy of Kaide Fayemi and this thing, what he has done in the last 4 years, that they want the continuation, the kind of continuity. That's when Oyebanji comes in, that they will be looking forward to maintain the status quo. But there's also a BC Kolawole, not forgetting that Ayo Fayose is a strong man when it comes to Ekiti politics, and is the leader of the People's Democratic Party here. So there's a kind of balance, and it's going to be keenly contested.
All right. Now, Ayodele, basically, I know you've spoken to a lot of Ekiti residents. What do they really want in the next governor? And how are those things shaping the way the campaigns are going? What are the issues, really?
Unemployment, poverty, infrastructure, and security seems to be, frontline in terms of what I've seen so far. The level of unemployment is so high in Ekiti State, and like every other state in Nigeria. The poverty rate is so high, it's so alarming, and they also have security issues. Now, I can tell you that, look, in some areas, it might not be widely reported, but they've had their own fair share of kidnapping, banditry across the border of Ekiti State. There's a place in Ekiti South that shares the same border with Kwara State, with Kogi State too. So when you are looking at it, that Ekiti State is also having its own fair share of insecurity. So people out there, they are looking for who is going to help them with, create more jobs. It's an agrarian state, create more jobs for the teeming graduates we have here. They are highly educated, but unemployment seems to be a very, very big deal here.
What about the significance of the peace accord? We understand that a number of parties signed that ahead of the Saturday election. This in addition with, the feeling of safety as people turn out to cast their ballots. What are you seeing on ground, Ayo?
Yes, Ezewagu, today is the peace accord. Yes. And can you please tell us what effect and who initiated it, and what is the significance of this accord?
Well, the peace accord is an initiative of the Kuka Center.
Martin Kuka Center.
They are the secretariat of it, but the peace accord is run by these eminent Nigerians, former head of state, General Abubakar.
Salam Abubakar.
Yes, the Sultan of Sokoto, and the chairman, the chairman, and the rest. I think he's co-chairman.
Yes.
Yes, so Naikon and the rest of them. They are able to douse tension. If you saw in Anambra, for instance, their intervention also helped to get the candidates to speak to their supporters to embrace peace. And that is
also in Edo State.
In Edo State, the Edo was even more critical. That as soon as they came in, it looks as if that was what needed to pour the ice. So that initiative has continued to be strengthened, and then we're going to see. And incidentally, in Ekiti, we've seen all the candidates, the major candidates have been around for the town hall meetings that's been held. They've been around for the stakeholders meeting yesterday. All the major candidates were all there. And so we expect that this morning again, that they will all come and sign and ensure that at the end of the day, they can speak to their supporters.
It's not just the paperwork.
Yes, they speak. There is opportunity to speak to their supporters to embrace peace. And that also happens when people see them on live television embracing themselves and giving that
spirit of sportsmanship
and giving that opportunity for peace. But at the end of the day, whatever happens, it is the responsibility of the Ekiti voters and the Ekiti citizens to ensure that this election is peaceful. Because at the end of the day, they are the greatest beneficiaries. If there is crisis, there won't be development. And if you use violence, you create legitimacy crisis for the winner of the election. And yes, at the end of the day, you can't say you won this election. You will have said you shot your way to power.
Over to you, Mike, in Lagos, Mike, Chami, and Sam.
Ayo, after every Ekiti election, there's always a surprise. It's either that people are angry over nanny state in the case of Fayemi, or stomach infrastructure in the case of Fayose. Is there any surprise in the offing this time?
Sam, I'm also looking forward to Saturday. I can't predict anything. Maybe after Saturday, we know what actually the intricacies, the intrigues, as in what actually happened, and we'll be able to hear the background gist after the whole exercise. So talking about surprises, I've been looking around, I've been on ground, I've not seen anything untoward. Sam.
Thank you very much, Ayo Zubaku, for bringing us up to speed there. We'll certainly be having you again tomorrow as we count down to the D-Day for us to talk about other areas, concerning the election and preparation for the election in Ekiti State. Thank you very much, Ayodele. The issue of peace accord, media debate for candidates, town hall meetings, they seem to be coming to stay in our election now. They never used to be there, but the exigency of the time.
Civic engagement, increasing civic interaction with candidacy and also with the issues of the day. But the point is that the political society has a way of trying to overwhelm all of this because of money, because of what they call structure. So whether you can debate as much as you want. Even in the United States, they've said that debate doesn't really count. You can be the best debater and lose the election.
And still lose the election.
We have seen so many elections in the U.S. where the best debater. There was one election like that. One Keys was a black man, a Republican. Was the most eloquent of all of them. Nobody remembers it today, So you can. There's so many things that go into politics. When we're talking of money as mother's milk of politics, and we say, it's not only the baby does not only drink milk. One cannot live by things. A child cannot live by milk alone. There are other things that a child must live by. I mean, you must give medicine. You must sing lullaby. You must massage the body. And then you must give a good bath and give a good place to sleep
for the baby to grow.
But I think the general feeling is that, okay, so these are familiar people. Since it has been narrowed down to SDP, PDP, and the APC candidate. Now, these are familiar people who have worked with each other for a substantial amount of time. So I guess the general feeling is that, okay, there shouldn't be so much of rancor, even though it might also lead to some uncertainties as to who the voter would eventually vote for. All of course, and the feeling of how crucial peace is, how crucial it is that the security agencies, play their part, not just INEC and the parties. But yes, it will be interesting to see how all these things are married together for the good of all. We're really looking forward to a free and fair election.
Yes, there's overhanging presence of the two big men in the two candidacies in the APC and PDP in terms of Fayemi and Fayose. And then the third person is also a big man who was there too. So he's there. He's a candidate himself.
And we don't know how. He has even had a feel of both parties.
He himself has already said, as interviewed him yesterday about threats to his life, and he said, there were threats to his life, and so we didn't. We can't say how that is going to be a factor.
Exactly.
We cannot say it's all friendly fire. There are some fires that are actually malicious.
The stakes remain high. The stakes remain high.
So we'll wait to see how these things will play out. It's ultimately it's ultimately incumbent on Ekiti residents to decide whom they want amongst all of these candidates. But in the build-up to, we'll bring you up to speed with the temperaments of the political temperaments in Ekiti State.
Right. I'm also looking forward to when we have a one-on-one exclusive with the PDP candidate.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a splendid session with Mr. Oni yesterday, Sam's interview, and then today. I like the lineup of questions and the forthright answers. It seemed forthright, at least to my. So we wait to see. How Mr. Kodawale would fare.
All right. So this is where we come to the end of today's edition of the program. On behalf of my colleagues here, we'd like to let you know that the views and reaction of all our resource persons are their views and have no connection with TVC News.